Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
All episodes of A Trial by Podcast are for informational and entertainment purposes only. Much to their parents' dismay, neither host is a lawyer, journalist, or investigator. Just two people with microphones and Wi-Fi. All actions discussed are alleged, and all parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. For the full legal mumbo-jumbo, check the show notes.
I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Emily.
And this is A Trial by Podcast.
You know what that is.
That's the welcome. Welcome to the pod, everybody, with the nice sounds of a Bloody Mary stir on a Sunday morning. And by Sunday morning, I mean 3:42 p.m.
It's morning for us.
Me and Emily have the Sunday scaries.
Sure do.
Yeah, we're going to get right into it. So, well, I guess, no, never mind. I'm going to say something first about this, and then we're going to get into it. This is like the third time we are trying to record this episode. I think this story is cursed for us. And I got to the point where like we've tried to record this twice before, and like we've gotten pretty deep into it. The first one I messed up the audio. Then the second one we stopped because we had recorded an episode before that, and I was just like I can't talk anymore. I was talking for like 4 hours. It felt like it was probably 3, but
we had a long yap session.
So then we were like, okay, we'll just finish it today, and it's gonna be like a nice quick recording day. And then now I can't find the file.
Surprise. So we're recording.
So we're having to start from the beginning again with this story. So there's going to be, I think it'll probably still be about an hour, but probably a little bit shorter than our usual episodes.
Yeah.
So with that being said, today's story is the mysterious death of Cindy James. And for those of you who know, you know. For those of you who don't,
ick yick. Have you never heard that?
No.
I don't know where. I did hear it somewhere. I think it was like a generational thing where they were like, what is ick?
Love it.
Like, it's if you know, you know.
Love it. That's, yeah. Ick yick. So, if not, you're...
Nick yick. Now you know.
Now you know. So just Nick.
Oh.
Ick yick, if not Nick.
Yep.
Do we put that on a hat? Would you guys buy that hat? Because I kind of want it. If Nick, if
I do
not
like
Nick.
that. Yeah.
Okay. So this case was requested by Bill K from Canada, and
another Bill? Oh, wait, no, maybe
no. This is the same one.
This is because
this is the third time you've heard this request from Bill K from Canada. She's like, another Bill K from Canada.
Sorry.
No, it's just
I realized
funny.
that after I said it, I was like, oh.
No, it's just funny. Bill, I want you to know, the first 2 times we recorded this, I did thank you for your case request. But at this point, this has become such a cursed case for us that I wanted to thank you, but I can't make myself do it. Someone else, and since we recorded it the first time, someone else like sent in a request too. And I'm sorry, I don't have the name off the top of my head. But multiple people requested the story. It is kind of like a big one in true crime because it's very sad and very interesting and intriguing in a way. So,
Okay.
with that being said, let's do it. If everyone could say a prayer for us that
Keep us in your thoughts.
If you're hearing this, me and Emily are on cloud nine. This is because
We're going through our trials and tribulations.
we're also recording it on a Sunday, and it has to be released this Tuesday. Like normally, we're working far ahead of time, and we have a couple weeks to edit stuff and go through it a few times. So that's not this week. So if this doesn't work, I will cry. So yeah. Anyway, let's do it. In October 1982, 37-year-old Cindy James received a chilling phone call. A man whispered, quote, "I'll get you one night, Cindy," end quote. It came just weeks after she separated from her husband, Dr. Roy Makepeace, and began living in a Vancouver suburb. The calls, filled with heavy breathing, silence, or disguised threats, soon escalated. Cindy reported them to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or the RCMP, who advised her to log the incidents and change her phone number. But even though she did this, the harassment continued and also intensified over time. Shortly after officers left her home that day, another call came in that same day before she even had the chance to take their advice of changing her phone number. And they said, quote, "You fucking bitch, I'll get you," end quote. Soon, sorry,
Sounds so aggressive.
So, yeah. So, and it makes you think someone's watching the house
Yeah. Ooh, that's creepy.
because, oh, you fucking bitch, you called the police on me type of thing.
Yeah. Don't like that.
So soon, phone threats turned into physical intimidation. Cindy reported prowlers, shattered porch lights, and a rock thrown through her window. She even found a slashed pillow on her bed. Though she suspected her estranged husband, Roy, she gave conflicting accounts, denying his involvement to police, but telling friends that he had been abusive. So she's kind of like pointing at him, but saying, no, it couldn't be him.
Who
And
slashes a pillow? I'm sorry, but like, what is that about? That's crazy.
that's a threat. That's like
Yeah.
you're lucky your head wasn't on this pillow. That's the way I'm
But
taking
also,
that.
like, if it wasn't her crazy psycho, whatever, was it her ex, I guess?
Yeah, her ex-husband.
So that means that they weren't, like, in connection. So somebody had to have snuck into her bedroom to slice her pillow.
Yes.
I don't like, no.
No, I don't like it either. A neighbor also saw a strange man lurking outside her home one day. And according to this neighbor, this man did not resemble Roy. So this is looking like probably not the case. So RCMP Constable Pat McBride, who was once assigned to Cindy's case and then eventually became her lover. Yes, we will get into that. He did move in temporarily trying to protect her, but still,
A knight in shining armor, if I've ever heard of one myself.
but also seems a little inappropriate to like you're assigned to a
I
victim's
mean, maybe,
case.
but I would be super fucking open to a man moving in to protect me if I was living by myself
like
and I had a stalker.
a hunky police officer.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say absolutely yes. Thank you.
Yes. I think we're not encouraging that though, right? We're not going to encourage it.
I mean, obviously, use your best
for
judgment.
like a novel. I like it in a novel, but in reality, I think it probably has some flukes to it, some kinks to work out. So even though he moves in with her, the threats did not stop. Cindy received a photo of a corpse pinned to her windshield, and her phone lines were cut. McBride himself received a silent call while inside the house and once found Roy parked in a nearby alley, claiming that he was trying to catch the intruder. By Christmas, a card appeared bearing a gruesome image of a woman with her throat slashed and the message "Merry Christmas" across the card.
What the fuck?
By year's end, Cindy was deeply fearful, her once bright demeanor replaced by constant anxiety and dread.
Dude, I don't blame her, man. That's a lot.
So there's a ton of just ongoing terror and chaos and stalking behavior. We're going to get into some more details, obviously. But on a cold January night in 1983, Cindy James's ordeal turned violent. Her friend and coworker Agnes Woodcock found her unconscious in the backyard, a black nylon stocking knotted around her neck. And when Cindy came to, she said 2 men had attacked her in the garage, strangled her until she blacked out, and threatened to kill her if she told anyone. She also claimed one had sexually assaulted her with a knife. Though doctors noted bruises and marks, there was no clear evidence of sexual assault. Police urged her to see a psychiatrist, but Cindy resisted, fearing that she'd be dismissed as unstable. And at the time, her case began making headlines because this is the thing. We're going to start to see a pattern. of these really horrific and terrifying stories of what happened to Cindy. But when they're investigated, there's not a lot of evidence to back up what she says happened. So she's saying she was sexually assaulted with a knife. And yeah, she had bruises and everything, but there was no conclusive evidence of sexual assault, which doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But this is one small piece of a lot of pieces that we're going to see don't necessarily add up over time.
Okay.
So her case is making headlines, this horrific case of stalking. And despite moving into a new home in early 1983, the threats continued. A week after relocating, she received a ransom-style note. And these ransom-style notes were like literally what you picture as a ransom note, like letters cut out of like magazines and newspapers and pasted onto paper. Like the drama of it. It's very theatrical.
Yeah, very.
It's very like old school
Am
ransom
I the
note.
drama? Yes.
Yes,
Whoever's making these letters, yes, you are.
Yes. So like one of these notes read, quote, "Run, rabbit, run. Soon, bang, bang, you're dead," end quote. So,
Why are they like that? Seems like they're making like jokes. Why are they trying to be funny?
No, they're trying to be scary, but it's when you're cutting and pasting letters out of magazines, it's like you can't make it long, dude. You know what I mean?
Quick and to the point, sure.
Yeah, they've really got. But why rabbit? Run,
Yeah, that's what I'm
rabbit,
saying.
run. That's a weird. I don't know. I don't get that. But so she's feeling like the police aren't necessarily taking her seriously. So she ends up hiring a private investigator named Ozzy Caban. And last time we recorded this, we had a great chat about
How it sounds like Azkaban in
like-
Harry Potter.
Emily goes, like Harry Potter. I'm like, what? She's like, Ozzy Caban, Azkaban, Azkaban. I'm like, oh, I like it. Okay.
I feel like the true Harry Potter lovers will get it the first time.
I just feel like every PI we talk about has the most fantastic
the
name.
names. I need to make a list of names because I feel like every time you bring somebody up, I'm like, damn, their name. What a name.
Yeah, Ozzy Caban is fantastic, and I just feel like if you want to be a PI and you don't have an awesome name, like you have to change your name.
Redo it, yeah.
You have to change your name. So she hires this PI, Ozzy Caban. I'm sorry,
It's Oz Caban.
It will make me laugh a little bit every time I say it. I'm trying not to. She even installed panic buttons in her house. She carried pepper spray, and she even changed the color of her car, thinking that her car was like recognizable to the stalker, hoping that this would help her after she moved. But still, the torment escalated. She found 3 dead cats in her garden one day. Each of them had been strangled.
And what do we talk about? That's the first sign of a serial killer, animal abuse.
Yes, hurting animal. That's a good point. But it's like they weren't. I don't even think they were her cats. That's the thing. It's like someone just killed these cats and like put them in her yard.
Yeah, that's
basically
like that's extra fucked up.
That.
Like what the cats do to you, sir, or ma'am. We don't know.
Yeah, it's just spooky shit. And I want to come back to this when we get to the end of the story and we're talking about theories on what is happening here.
Oh no.
So the threatening calls continued even at work. And after returning from a vacation with her ex-husband, Roy Makepeace, which that's kind of iconic of her to go on vacation with your ex-husband. I like that.
Yeah.
She finds another note and it says, "Welcome back, death, blood, hate, etc." Like ETC, end quote. So
Okay.
again, it's like this is the problem with cutting and pasting the letters. Get a typewriter.
Right.
Get a typewriter because like I like that they just sounded like they got exhausted. They're like, well, I had like 70 other words on my list, but like you don't even welcome back, death, blood, hate, etc. That's just what what
sounds
about
like
it?
It sounds like an Instagram bio. Like of a super emo person or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
it sounds like me when I was 12 years old and my favorite band was Pierce the Veil and A Day to Remember. Those are my favorite bands. I still love them, by the way. Still love A Day to Remember and Pierce the Veil. I went to see A Day to Remember live like 2 years ago. I went with our buddy Alex. Shout out Alex.
were we just talking about this yesterday?
Maybe. I
think we were.
Yes. Because there's pictures of me crowd surfing. So I went with one of our friends, Alex, and Alex is like a big, not that like guys crowd surf that much, but Alex is like a bodybuilder, like big guy. So obviously he's not crowd surfing. So I literally was just handing him my purse. Alex is the best. I'm handing him my purse. I'm like, lift me up, bro. Going
said,
crowd
"Bitch, hold
surfing.
my purse."
Then I come back and I give him my phone and I'm like, Alex, throw me back in, hold my purse, and take pictures of me crowd surfing. And I have pictures of me crowd surfing. I just have the biggest smile on my face. I love it. They're so funny.
I love that he captured that for you.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
dude, he's
the homie.
He's the best. He's the homie. So I don't know how I got there. I'm sorry. Oh, death, blood, hate, etc.
Yeah.
Yes. So, sorry for the tangent. I know some people hate that. In January 1984, Caban's two-way radio picked up some strange noises coming from Cindy's house. When he arrived, he found her unconscious, a paring knife stabbed through her hand, pinning a crude note reading, "Now you must die, cunt."
Oh, Lord. No way.
And I know my aunts and uncles listen to this podcast and they're going to be so mad that I said the C word. But I just want to remind everybody, the Australians say it all the time. It's not that bad of a word. Cindy said she'd seen someone at the gate before blacking out. So because obviously people are like, what happened here? Caban and the police, of course, are eventually called about this. She says she remembers seeing someone at her gate and then she blacks out. There was a needle mark found on her arm. So the obvious thought there is someone injected something into her that made her pass out. But they ran toxicology reports on her blood and there weren't any drugs in her system. So no one knows what could have been injected, but there was a needle mark. And of course, there's literally a knife stabbed through her hand, pinning a note to the floor. Like,
again, the
someone did
dramatics,
something to
though.
her.
The dramatics of this.
Exactly. It's like a movie, like a scary movie. That's how I picture this, like a horror film of someone being tortured, but they're always just evading police. So she ended up being given a polygraph by the police because they are starting to think that these stories are not adding up. They're like, okay, oh, you passed out, but there's nothing in your system.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
TaxAct knows small business owners can sometimes use a little help with their taxes. That's why TaxAct has Expert Assist, a team of live tax experts ready to answer any questions you may have. Think of them as your own personal sidekick. Not like one of those funny talking animal sidekicks, more like the super smart nerding out on tax code and business casual attire sidekick, but just as helpful and lovable. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. Introducing the all-new, all-terrain Honda Passport Trail Sport, the most off-road capable Honda Passport Honda has ever dreamt up. The Passport features increased ground clearance, roof rails on all trims, and available specially developed all-terrain tires. And you'll stay comfortable with tri-zone climate control and available features like heated and ventilated front seats and a panoramic moonroof. Learn more at honda.com/passport.
And
yeah, they're like, oh, are you lying about this? Like, what's going on here?
They are starting to suspect that she may be doing this to herself.
She stabbed herself in the hand with a knife and a note.
That is what the police are starting to suspect through time.
Yikes.
Because these are constantly happening, but like I said, there's not a lot of evidence to back up some of the things that she says.
Ooh.
So they make her take a polygraph about this, and the test results were inconclusive. Now, investigators noticed smeared blood in the kitchen, raising suspicions that the scene may have been staged. Because if she was passed out when this happened and came to after, why would there be blood all over the kitchen?
Yeah.
Because you would assume that she would have remained in one spot. So again, they're thinking that this is staged by Cindy herself. Still, friends like Emily here found it very hard to believe that Cindy would harm herself, let alone stab herself through the hand and pin a note to the ground.
Yeah, like what is she getting from this? You know, why would she even do that?
That is the question, 100%. So police looked again at Roy Makepeace because they are trying to, I mean, I guess it depends on your opinion, but I think they are making efforts to look elsewhere, even though they are suspect of Cindy. So they're looking again at her ex-husband, Roy, because Cindy had hinted to friends that maybe he was behind the attacks. Like, do you think Roy did this? Though Roy denied any involvement in what was going on with Cindy. He claimed that organized crime might be targeting her due to her work with troubled youth, an explanation that police found unlikely. So they're like, that doesn't really make sense. And of course, when someone points and says, hey, why don't you look over there? Maybe it's this. Sometimes that makes the police look even a little bit closer at you because they're like, well, why are you pointing over there when that doesn't really make sense?
Yeah.
So Cindy's father started to be in on this. He believed that it was possibly Roy that was behind all of this. And so he actually even worked together with police to confront Roy while he was wearing a wire. So the police wire Cindy's father. He goes, confronts Roy, and Roy's like, no, this is not me. I am being framed for this. And then he later sent a 6-page letter blaming the mafia and the police to Cindy's father. So now Roy's like, the police, I'm being framed by this organized crime, and the police are like, think I did it because I'm being framed and whatever. But he says it was not him. And obviously,
so he's like, the only logical explanation is the mafia.
Right. And obviously, I'm simplifying this explanation, but it is, at this point, Roy looks very sus, in my opinion, at this point in the story.
Roy's not making peace.
Roy is not making peace, dude. Roy's making war with the mafia.
Yeah, he's going to need to change his last name pretty soon.
Yes. Now, by mid-1984, things worsened. In June, Cindy called Caban in a panic. He found her outside, terrified, claiming that someone was in the house. Inside, he discovered her dog tied up and abused alongside a pornographic happy birthday note. I don't know necessarily what that meant by pornographic, but obviously nude humans, like photos of a nude human.
The dog.
But it said happy birthday. And then there was a cigarette butt in the house, found on the windowsill, but Cindy didn't smoke. Okay. So
tested for DNA. Do they have that yet?
Well, here's the thing. So no. Caban believed that this cigarette butt proved that someone else had been there. Later on, more dead cats appeared. I don't know how many off the top of my head, but more dead cats appeared and anonymous calls continued over time. So this is something, there's a lot of animal abuse going on in this story, okay?
Yeah.
Caban even received some anonymous calls himself that were just silent or just filled with breathing. One caller told one of Bond's coworkers, quote, get rid of the big pig, end quote. They're presuming that this was referring to Caban. So now this person's not just threatening Cindy, they're also threatening the PI that is supposed to be helping her and helping to protect her. Even Cindy's mother, while staying over, witnessed the terror. She found shattered glass and a window cracked as if someone had tried to break in overnight.
That is fucking terrifying, dude.
This all gives me literal chills up my spine.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if this was happening to you? Dead cats appearing in your yard, someone abused your dog. They're constantly trying to break into your house. They're leaving you notes. They literally they knocked you out with something that the police that the toxicology reports couldn't even catch, and stabbed your hand to the floor with a note saying, now you must die, cunt.
I would be moving into the police station if I was her. I'd be like, can I just stay here for maybe a while until they leave me alone? What the fuck?
Exactly. But here's my question. If this person wants to kill Cindy and they had her knocked
made
out
it very
to where
obvious
they could stab it through her hand, why didn't they kill her?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I guess the answer could be that Caban's radio had picked up the strange noises coming from her house.
Yeah.
And so then he rushed there. Maybe this person had to then run out. But it's well, why, if you're there to kill her, why are you leaving a note that says now you must die? You wouldn't have come prepared with that note. I don't know. The whole thing's weird.
Yeah.
So you can see how some of this math is not mathing over time, but very scary, scary shit is happening.
Yeah.
And Cindy seemed to be living in constant fear. She was under siege from this tormentor that no one could identify. And again, some people are questioning whether she might somehow be the one behind it all. Then, on July 23rd, 1984, another brazen attack occurred. one that raised even more questions. Cindy took her dog for an evening walk to a nearby park, despite everyone urging her for months and months and months to not go out of the house alone, which I would be terrified too at this point. So she takes the dog for an evening walk and she did not return home on time. At that point, the search begins. Around midnight, a neighbor found Cindy dazed and wandering the neighborhood, not far from the park that she had taken the dog to. She had a dark nylon stocking tied tightly around her neck, the familiar calling card of her tormentor, because this has happened multiple times before. There's a nylon stocking tied around her neck. And it's like, why is that the weapon of choice? I don't know.
Why that's the signature? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. So Cindy's shoes were missing and she seemed to be extremely confused. She had cuts and bruises all over her body. And her dog, Heidi, which I love a human name for a dog.
Me too.
I love a human name for a dog. And her dog, Heidi, was later found running loose in the park, also very agitated and muddy. At the hospital, doctors discovered 2 needle puncture marks on Cindy's right arm, suggesting she'd been injected with something once again. Cindy recalled that a bearded man in a green van, accompanied by a female passenger, had accosted her in the park. This was the first time she ever described a female suspect assisting the attacker. And as bizarre as that sounded, one detail gave investigators pause. Because while Cindy was being treated, a hospital receptionist received a mysterious phone call. A man calmly inquired about the hospital's security procedures for patients. So later, the police played a voicemail, recording of Roy Makepeace's voice to that receptionist. And she said she felt there was a, quote, strong possibility, end quote, that it was him on the phone. Okay. So there is an assumption that it was Roy calling, asking about the hospital's security procedures for patients. And some people like to point at this and say, oh, this is sketchy because he was seeing he's behind all this. And he was seeing.
He's like, how is there going to be a gap where I can get in there and fucking do some other shit to her in the hospital?
Right. But on the other side, people are saying, well, no, he's just worried about her because he knows that she's being tortured. And he was just trying to make sure that
he's double checking the security.
Exactly. Okay. Now, and I want to back it up because in my shortening of this, I realized that we didn't talk too much about their marriage. They seem to have. It was an abusive relationship. Now, Roy Makepeace later defended this to the police by saying he only hit her twice. Which it's yeah, that's abuse, sir. What the fuck?
And I highly doubt it was only twice.
But, but they did, after their divorce and after their separation, they did stay in contact. And it did seem that, I guess, spoiler alert, in my opinion, I don't really think that he had anything to do with this torment, but being abusive to your wife is a different type of tormentor for sure.
Yep.
But that's why a lot of people are looking at Roy, Cindy left him. Is he just abusive and controlling? And now he's trying to torture her. But again, on the other side, some people are saying he was just trying to check on to make sure she was secure in the hospital. So you can look at it either way. And honestly, I don't know what the case was. But by this point, Cindy's story was front and center in the media. And the public was wondering, why hadn't the police been able to catch this assailant after nearly 2 years of torment? 2 years, all of this has been going on. So I know it feels like I'm really summarizing stuff and making it very brief, but it's because there are so many instances and so many calls. And it's a lot of the same stuff happening over and over and over again for
literally
years.
730 days is how long this went.
And there's been multiple times where this person has either gotten into her house or left notes or
slashed her pillow
or tied something around her neck.
Yeah, and or abused her animals.
And they've never been able to really find solid evidence tying anyone else to doing this to her.
Okay.
So after the traumatic events of 1984, the RCMP increased surveillance on Cindy's home. But oddly, nothing ever happened while they were watching. There were no calls, no prowlers. And as soon as the police left, the harassment resumed, which this could make sense either way, whether or not it's Cindy doing it. It's if someone, I imagine that while they're surveilling the home, they're doing it in an incognito way, they're sitting in an unmarked car. They don't just have officers posted outside in uniforms with police cars. But Some people say that this is a red flag, pointing to that Cindy had been staging these incidents herself, and she can't do that while the police are watching.
Well, yeah, and because she knew the police were watching.
Exactly. So in early 1985, during a therapy session under hypnosis, Cindy claimed that years earlier, she had witnessed her ex-husband, Roy Makepeace, murder and dismember 2 people.
What?
Yes.
What?
Plot twist.
Oh, my God.
Which, again, as much as I say, I don't think Roy Makepeace, there doesn't seem to be a lot of evidence that Roy Makepeace is involved in this torment of Sydney. I keep saying Sydney. I'm sorry. We have a friend named Sydney. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of evidence to support that Roy Makepeace was Cindy's tormentor. That is not to say that Roy Makepeace was not. I do not know what happened here. No one truly knows what happened here. I think most people are going to come out of this with solidly on one side or the other. And I'm pretty solidly on one side of it, but I don't know. So I just want to put that out there because I don't want people yelling at me. I don't know. So she's under hypnosis. She claims that years earlier, she's witnessed Roy murder and dismember 2 people. Police quietly investigated these claims, but they found no supporting evidence. They couldn't even figure out who these 2 people would have been, who went missing, where this would have happened, and it just didn't really. The math was not mathing there. Now her sister.
But how do you have that in the crevice of your mind that a hypnosis could just come up with? You know what I'm saying? Where does that come from? I don't know too much about hypnosis, but it freaks me out, and I will never be hypnotized. So
well, and the other thing was that at the time, her sister had been staying with them, the timeline didn't add up because the sister didn't see anything that would have made her think that Roy had murdered and dismembered 2 people.
Yeah.
So to investigators, it seemed implausible, and this really was the point where they had already been they suspected that Cindy was behind this, but they were also they didn't have evidence to say that Cindy was behind it either.
Yeah.
They just didn't have any evidence that anyone was behind it, which made them presume that maybe it was Cindy, that she was a possibility. She was a person of interest. But at this point, this really damaged Cindy's credibility in their eyes. You know what I mean? At this point, they don't trust what Cindy says to them.
Could she have, I know this is a stretch, but could she have multiple personality disorder?
That is a theory. That is a theory. I don't know that much about it though. We're going to talk about it, but they are thinking either she is lying about this, she's traumatized, there's some mental health thing going on, or maybe she's deliberately trying to frame Roy. Now, that summer, Cindy was hospitalized after overdosing on pills. Now, she said it wasn't a suicide attempt, but was a desperate cry for help. Her doctor, Dr. Alan Connolly, worried that she might eventually take her own life, whether by choice or just by the weight of the disbelief. He said, quote, "People didn't believe her. That's what slowly drove her crazy," end quote. So he's saying,
I could see that, So when nobody believes you, you're like, well, what the fuck?
Exactly. So there's a couple possibilities that if mental illness plays a role in this, you have to look at it. Well, did it start as mental illness and the whole thing was made up by Cindy? Or was this real and it drove her to become mentally ill? And I think both are realistic possibilities that we should look into.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream.
Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Zysol is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Zysol keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all, take Zysol at night.
So, in July, after another fire was set at her home, because there have been multiple before, Cindy was involuntarily committed to a psychiatric ward because, again, they believed that
it was her
she
doing
had
it.
set this fire.
Oh my God, that's insane, dude, for how much shit. I don't care. I mean, regardless if she did this to herself or if somebody else did this to her, the chaos she's been through for the last 2 years is kind of crazy. Like, what? That's a lot.
Yes, that's a really good point. If she is doing this to herself, there is obviously something very, very wrong, and she is still being tormented by her own mind.
By herself, yeah.
Not saying, you know, because we're going to get into the police spend a lot of resources and time and money
what's going on.
trying to investigate this case. Okay. So I don't want to say, you know, if she's doing this to herself, oh, it's just okay or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But you have to recognize the fact that she is being tormented by someone. Whether or not it's herself, we don't know. But like that is still a very unique type of torment for sure. So she's involuntarily committed to the psychiatric ward and she stays there for 10 weeks. Doctors noted that she was experiencing depression, anxiety, and extreme emotional instability. Some speculated, like Emily mentioned, that maybe she had dissociative identity disorder or borderline personality disorder. So dissociative identity disorder is like, that's the new, what did you call it?
Split personality?
Split, yeah, like multiple personality disorder. It is now referred to as dissociative identity disorder by the DSM-5. The borderline personality disorder is different. And I think in this case, more people lean towards the DID, dissociative identity disorder, because as being a possible explanation. So according to the Mayo Clinic, borderline personality disorder is a mental health condition that affects the way people feel about themselves and others, making it difficult to function in everyday life. It includes a pattern of unstable, intense relationships, as well as impulsiveness and an unhealthy way of seeing themselves. Impulsiveness involves having extreme emotions or acting or doing things without thinking about them first. People with borderline personality disorder have a strong fear of abandonment or being left alone. Even though they want to have loving and lasting relationships, the fear of being abandoned often leads to mood swings and anger. It also leads to impulsiveness and self-injury that may push others away. So that is all a direct quote from the Mayo Clinic, and you can kind of do more research on your own if you want to about borderline personality disorder. But the reason in Cindy's case, obviously we talk about the DID as because maybe this tormentor is like a separate personality. But with borderline personality disorder, they're kind of saying that if she was consciously and actively doing this to herself, that it may have stemmed from this BPD, and that is because she basically is self-tormenting, self-inflicting injury in order to keep people around, to keep relationships, to keep attention, whatever that may be. Okay. Now, if I got anything wrong there, because I'm obviously not a psychiatrist or a counselor or anything like that, please let me know nicely. I'm not making blanket statements about anyone with DID or BPD. I'm just trying to take those definitions and conjecture about what they might mean in Cindy's case. Okay. So no consensus was ever really reached by the doctors while she was in there. She had some BPD tendencies, things like that, but they did agree that she seemed to be in crisis. Now, after she was eventually released, Cindy confided to her family that she knew more than she was letting on and that she believed she could solve the case herself, though she refused to name a suspect. In time, she tried to move forward. She relocated to Richmond and she found work as a nurse. And for a while, things calmed down. She seemed to be doing better. But a few unsettling incidents did occur. There were broken lights outside of her home. There were cracked windows. But for the most part, the worst seemed to be over. Then, in October 1988, the terror reignited. Roy Makepeace began receiving chilling voicemails, one saying, quote, "Cindy, dead meat soon," end quote. This person is like, they don't like...
The theatrics
they're just so like...
nonchalant.
They're so like, they don't use full sentences ever. Cindy, dead meat soon. Like it, what was the other? Death, blood, etc. It's like...
they're just adjectives.
Yeah, they're just like saying scary words. I don't know. So that was one of the voicemails. Another referenced drugs and a plan to kill Cindy. Of course, Roy turned the tapes over. Now, he did turn them over to his lawyer first because at this point, the police were like really looking at Roy at one point.
And he's like, hey, it's happening to me too. I swear it's not me.
Right. So he now has this attorney basically to protect himself, it seems like. 2 weeks later, Cindy was found half naked and hogtied in her garage, a black nylon stocking around her neck once again. She, of course, had no memory of the attack, and her bindings were so complex that a not expert concluded it was, quote, highly unlikely, end quote, that she had hogtied herself.
You know what else this sounds like? It sounds like somebody's like sexual fantasies are like, that's what they're doing to her.
That's true.
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
actually a good point. We're questioning, okay, if this person wants to kill her, why are they always leaving her alive in these attacks? But you're right. Maybe they don't actually want to kill her. They want her to think because they're getting off on some weird
scare tactic,
sadist, they're getting off on terrifying her.
Yeah.
But also there's never DNA at the scene. You know what I mean?
Oh.
But I mean, that doesn't mean that that's not the case. It could be he
could be doing that for just the pics.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a solid theory, honestly. So for this, people after this, they're like, well, this is proof that she's not doing it to herself. Some people thought that, but some people thought it was possible that she had tied these complex knots, and we don't know. Now, by this point, the RCMP had spent over $1.5 million investigating the case. $1.5 million.
And that was in the 80s, so that's like way more.
Because this has been going on for like 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
$1.5 million. And still, there wasn't even a good suspect. There were no arrests made. Just Cindy's own accounts of what had happened to her. And like I said, some officers believe that she had fabricated it all. The timing, the lack of witnesses, the inconsistencies, the lack of evidence, it all painted a very troubling picture. Cindy, learning of their suspicions, she's outraged by this. And she ends up filing a complaint against the RCMP. But she did, in this complaint, praise one detective, a man named Jerry Anderson, as she felt like he was the only one left who was taking her seriously.
Where's Azkaban?
Well, he was the PI. He didn't work for the police.
Okay.
But here's the thing is if Cindy was not doing this to herself, can you fucking imagine someone is fucking torturing you, stabbing your hand to pinning it to the floor, tying you up for years, torturing you. There's no suspects. You have no idea who it could be. And now the police
they're
think
starting
it's
to
you,
not believe you. Yeah.
And they're saying that you're doing it to yourself.
Honestly, that would put me in a fucking loony bin too, because
I agree. If that is the case, if that is what happened here, my heart breaks for this woman. Even if she did this to herself, obviously
there's something else going on.
This is a crime. If she was doing this to herself, this was a crime. She wasted $1.5 million and I'm not saying it's okay, but my point is if she did not do this to herself, this is a fucking horror film.
Yeah,
this is a horror film.
Yeah,
it's horrible. So by early 1989, Cindy was just feeling increasingly alone. Even some of her friends and family had begun to question her. There were a few that stood firmly by her side, convinced that she was truly a woman under siege, but some were looking at her sideways, and she just felt like there was no one left on her side that believed her.
Yeah, you gotta just feel defeated as fuck at that point, nobody believed. That's rough.
Now, on May 25th, 1989, Cindy James appeared to be turning a corner. She'd worked a shift at Richmond General Hospital. She was in good spirits, and she had mentioned that there had been no incidents in 2 weeks, which was amazing for her. That evening, she was expecting friends over for bridge, and she had a new security system that was that was scheduled to be installed. So nothing had happened in 2 weeks. She's going to have friends over. She's working as a nurse at this hospital. Things seemed to be going well for her. Now, around 4 p.m., Cindy picked up her paycheck. She ran some errands, and then she was last seen around 8 p.m. at an ATM and a grocery store. But she never made it home after. By 10 p.m., her friends, Agnes and Tom Woodcock, were worried. They found her house dark and locked because they were coming over for bridge. And later, they spotted her car abandoned at the shopping plaza where she had been at that grocery store. Mm-hmm. Inside the vehicle were groceries, a wrapped gift, and traces of blood. Her wallet had been dumped underneath the vehicle, and the Woodcocks immediately called the police, and they are searching for her immediately because, again, they know, the police already know who this is.
Yeah,
they know
the
the
gravity
story
of the situation.
and they're like, okay, wait, now she's just gone, because this is new. Everything else was like,
they always did something and left.
yes, and it was usually at her home for the most part. I mean, there was the one time she was out walking the dog and whatever, but this is the first time she's just like gone missing like this. So in the days that followed, the Coast Guard and the police conducted extensive searches, and a strange lead emerged after Cindy's tenant received a call at work from someone pretending to be Cindy's father, asking about her life insurance. Cindy's father denied making the call, saying, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And this raised suspicions. Okay, maybe this is some like financial motive, because why are they asking about her life insurance? But 2 weeks later, on June 8th, a road worker found Cindy's body behind an abandoned house less than 2 miles from the shopping center. She was hogtied in a fetal position, partially clothed and strangled with a black nylon stocking.
Oh my God.
One of her fingers had pressed into another with such force it broke the skin. Nearby graffiti read, quote, "Some bitch died here," end quote, with an arrow pointing to her body.
I'm trying to like think if, I mean, I don't know. I'm like, can someone do this to yourself? No. Do they still think that she did this? Oh my God.
Some bitch died here with an arrow pointing. Like, that's crazy. The autopsy revealed there was a massive overdose of morphine and sedatives, enough to kill her several times over. Like, this was a lot of drugs. So this was likely the cause of death.
Oh, so not strangulation?
I don't think so. I think it was the drugs that killed her. There was a needle mark found on her arm, but there was no syringe or pill bottles found at the scene. So morphine and sedatives, morphine, I believe you have to inject it. I don't know if they have a pill form, but obviously the sedatives were pills. Yeah. And so the forensic experts were puzzled. If Cindy took the drugs herself, how did she have time to tie herself up so intricately before passing out? Because literally there were enough drugs in her system to kill her multiple times over. Like, this is going to fuck you up real fast.
Yeah, like fast acting.
But like, so they're like, okay, I don't want to, hold on, let me just get to it. And then I'll give you my thoughts. So the RCMP suggested that this was either suicide or a staged scene gone wrong. So what they mean by that is that she either killed herself on purpose, wanting it to look like she was murdered, or this was just another one of her things where she wanted to be found
to like prove to them that she was right.
And she accidentally took too many drugs or whatever and died because of it. So they're saying either way, they think she did this to herself, but they don't know if she died purposefully or if the death was that this whole thing had gone wrong, that her whole plan had gone wrrong.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And basically,
I'm so confused. I have so many questions, but I don't even know where to start.
Right. So they cited years of inconsistencies and a lack of physical evidence pointing. They just felt like a stalker never existed. There was no evidence that supported. Well, here's the thing. They say there was no evidence. There is evidence that supports a stalker.
Yeah, I was going to say there's actually a lot of evidence. They just, I guess it could be explained away by her.
There's no evidence to point to that she couldn't have done those things to herself. Yeah. I guess that's what they mean by that, really. But like, here's the thing. It's like the media also echoed this theory. They portrayed Cindy as a troubled woman who died by her own hand. Her family and friends, however, they strongly disagreed. They believed that Cindy had been tortured for years by someone and this person finally killed them. PI, Mr. Ozzy Caban, noticed lividity on her left side, though she was found lying on her right side. So lividity, let me pull up an actual definition. Do you know, have you heard this term before?
Nope.
Okay, so lividity, this is according to osmosis.org. Lividity is the bluish-purple discoloration of skin after death due to blood pooling at the lowest point of the body.
Oh, okay.
So like when you die, your blood is no longer being pumped throughout your body. And so gravity makes it sit. After it's sat for a while, it discolors the skin. So like when you're then moved over to a different side, they can tell that you were lying on, your left side for a while. So what Ozzy Caban, Mr. Azkaban, is pointing out is that there's lividity on her left side, even though she was found lying on her right side. So he's saying this suggests that she may have died elsewhere and been moved. therefore making it impossible that she had done this to herself.
Unless she's a fucking ghost.
So Cindy's father asked the obvious. Where was the needle and where were the pill bottles? Which to me, the pill bottles, like, you could just put the pills in your pocket, whatever.
Yeah.
But
the needle, I mean, there has to have been that somewhere.
Because there was morphine in her system.
Yeah.
So it's not like, it was just a needle mark that she could have made beforehand. There was morphine in her system. So that is the one point of this that really has me, I'm like, where the fuck is the needle?
Yeah.
Shopping is hard, right? But there's a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And she sends just for me pieces. Plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what I love and send back the rest. It's so easy. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
But it is, it could also be, okay, maybe she injected herself with the morphine elsewhere, then went to the spot, tied herself up, took all the pills and tied herself up, and the pills interacting with the morphine. But if she took enough, I don't know if they can.
But also, I mean, if she's injecting herself with something, all of her limbs were tied up anyway. So how would she be able to inject herself?
She would have had to do that before she tied herself up.
Yeah, but how do you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like how morphine is, I feel like that's pretty instant, no? If you're injecting it into your bloodstream.
And here's the thing is, her bloodstream contained 10 times the lethal dose of morphine.
That's what I'm saying. How are you, there's no way.
But I don't know how long it would take to kill you. And this is the thing is like, I don't know, maybe I'm putting too much trust in authorities, but like if it was literally impossible for her to, and there was no needle found there.
Yeah, then how would they question that at all?
That's what I'm saying is I feel like they would have then been like, oh shit, someone else did do this to her. But I don't know. Like I know some people are going to be like, Kelsey, don't be a fucking sheep or something. But like, I don't know. I just feel like if anything, they would be more, I guess maybe not. Maybe they would be more inclined to say she did this to herself because they maybe kind of neglected her case. Yeah. I don't know. It just, none of it makes sense either way. Like if someone else was doing this to her, they must be the smartest fucking criminal on earth.
Yeah.
Like to leave no evidence ever when you've done this a billion times.
But to leave the evidence that they left with no evidence tracing it back to them is my thing. Like they left all those notes. They left fucking her tied up places. They left the dog abused. Like how do you not leave anything behind?
Right.
But like intend for people to find.
They didn't have DNA testing at the time. So it's like, it is a little bit easier, but it's
I guess. But still nothing? I mean, they were able to solve murders back then with no DNA, Right. But like, I don't know.
I don't know. Like, there's no hairs. There's no...
That's I don't know. Terrifying.
It is terrifying. So, in spring of 1990, a coroner's inquest was held to bring clarity to Cindy James's death. Over 40 days long, 5 jurors heard testimony from more than 80 witnesses, including family, friends, police, doctors, and even Cindy's ex-husband, Roy Makepeace. Roy made shocking claims accusing Cindy's father and brother of past abuse, which the family vehemently denied.
Everybody's trying to point the fingers at everybody else, but including Cindy.
Yeah, exactly. So the Jameses believed Roy was just trying to deflect attention from himself by trying to smear Cindy's character and the character of her family. Now, investigators painted a very complex portrait. After Cindy's death, her family flushed medications from her home. So the family is like the people who say they still believe that someone else did this to Cindy, but then they're
flushing shit.
They're flushing shit, which if you believe someone else did this to her, but they're trying to say she did it to herself, you might be flushing stuff thinking this is going to lead people astray from the truth. Don't flush stuff. Don't flush evidence.
Yeah.
But like I can see I can see the motive
thought
for
process
doing that,
behind
but
it,
yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, that's a no.
But they like some people say maybe they were just trying to protect her memory, but again, they're destroying evidence. Now, her sister had also found a syringe kit, a catheter, and a glass cutter, suggesting that Cindy may have staged some of these events herself. Because remember, there's always like broken glass and windows, and there's always syringe marks. So these discoveries supported suspicions that she had the means to fake the break-ins or inject drugs. So
doesn't everyone else?
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's like, why would she have a
technical.
syringe kit? Why would you have a syringe kit? She wasn't diabetic. You know, she did she wasn't on Ozempic either. Like, she wasn't taking the Zempi. So what are you injecting? Unless this.
But also, if they found that, wouldn't they be able to tell one was missing if she injected herself with the morphine? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, because
she just
you
have
throw
multiple
syringes
syringe
away.
kits away.
You throw the needles away when you're done with them.
I guess.
I don't know. It's just the point is she had the stuff she needed to fake some of these things.
Yeah.
Now, psychiatrists gave differing opinions. One had diagnosed her with hysterical personality disorder.
Oh, shit.
Which is just so misogynistic. That's so funny. That's not a thing anymore, by the way. That's an old school, like, oh, women, they're always hysterical type of thing.
Oh, that's what they're
yeah, they're calling her hysterical woman, basically.
Okay, but if you went through what she did, would you not also be hysterical?
Yeah, it's just called reacting to if someone else did this to her.
Maybe, I don't know.
Now, another psychiatrist diagnosed her with having traits of borderline personality disorder and PTSD. Both of these psychiatrists acknowledged that she was under immense psychological stress. Whether it was from internal struggles or from genuine trauma, though, they didn't know. That wasn't, for them to determine.
Yeah.
The jury had to weigh two competing narratives. Was Cindy a woman driven to despair by disbelief, or someone who had orchestrated her own torment? A pivotal moment in this coroner's inquest came when not expert Robert Kiesnall, when not expert Robert demonstrated how someone could hogtie themselves using similar materials. Okay, so hog tying is just tying your hands to your feet, basically, like your wrists to your ankles.
Okay.
When Cindy was found, she was hogtied, but she was hogtied in the fetal position, okay? So he came in and demonstrated how someone can do this. The point is, this is possible. That's the thing is it sounds like, oh, she was tied up. How could she have done this to herself? Mm-hmm. He completed the bindings in under 3 minutes. Again, suggesting that Cindy could have done it after taking all of that stuff if she acted quickly enough after taking the morphine. But still, the question to me is, but where's the needle?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's...
Well, that and the lividity, too. Like, how does that make any sense?
The thing about this to remember, though, is that this is what Ozzy Caban says after seeing, I believe it was just photos of her body. This was not noted, as far as I could find, this was not noted in the autopsy report. So we just got to remember that Ozzy Caban, he's a PI, but he's not a pathologist. He's not a doctor. This is not his area of specialty to be saying whether or not this bruising or blotching on the side of her body is lividity or from something else. And it sounds like authorities don't believe it is lividity. However, one could also argue that the authorities may have reason to say it's not lividity, even if it was, because maybe if she had been being stalked the whole time, that makes them look bad because they weren't taking her seriously. So some people think that it's possible there were some cover-up efforts there.
How do you explain that away, though?
I don't know. That okay, so there's two things. Where are the needle? Where are the needle?
Where are needle?
Where are needle?
I have purse.
That's how they write these ransom letters. Whoever's writing these ransom notes, I have purse. Like where are needle? That's literally same style.
Like a third grader? Got it.
But anyway, where's the needle and how could she have done this to herself if there's lividity? Fuck, I felt like when I wrote this, I felt like I was on one side of this, and now I feel like I'm on the other side.
Did you think that she did it to herself?
I felt very on the side of she did it to herself.
I mean,
and I thought,
I'm not gonna lie, I do still have some doubts, but at the same time, I'm like, I
thought she did it to herself, but on accident. Like, I thought she wanted to be found again and didn't mean to kill herself.
Oopsie overdose.
She just didn't know. Like, but she was a nurse though,
so she would have known how much to take without.
Oh, dude, that's why this case is so highly debated.
That actually makes sense though for the like choice of drugs though, because those are all like very easily obtainable at like as a doctor or a nurse. So maybe it was somebody that she worked with, if it wasn't her.
That's a solid point. I don't know that they ever looked into anybody that she worked. But it was also like at the time that she didn't have the same job the whole time. Like she had just started that job at the hospital like a year or two before her death.
Oh, okay.
But still, I mean, it could have been, I don't know.
I don't know. I have questions. I'm confused.
I know. And now, like, the more we talk about it, the more confused I feel. And I think that's how everybody feels about this case, because the idea that she could have done this to her, I don't know. This case is just baffling to me, and I think to everybody. And ultimately, this coroner's inquest really offered no closure because Cindy's death was ruled as an unknown event. So they didn't rule it as an accident, suicide, or homicide. They basically
said we don't know.
Literally after let me find. So 40 days, 5 jurors heard testimony from more than 80 witnesses, and the answer was we don't know what happened here.
Damn.
We don't know what happened here.
Which
an unknown event, and that's
I feel like
how
that'd be interesting to see like how often that happens, because that's gotta be rare when that happens, and they literally have no idea.
Now with the lividity thing, honestly. The lividity, the lividity to me is more convincing than the needle.
Yeah, me too.
I just feel like the needle could have, I don't know, she could have chucked it, or
she could have just yeeted it.
Yeah, or like maybe there were drugs left in it, and this was like, she was found outside of like an abandoned house. You know, maybe there was a drug user that was like, oh, this lady's dead. I want nothing, but I'll take I don't know. Like, I just feel like you could come up with an like, it would be really fucking crazy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
that would be so crazy if she did this to herself and then somehow after she died, like the needle went somewhere else. Or like maybe she just threw it because she was outside and they couldn't find it.
Basically, if you tried really hard, you could come up with an explanation for the needle.
It would be unlikely.
But not the lividity.
Yeah, the lividity though. Like
I can't think of an explanation at all for that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's what's crazy. Now dude. If this woman was just being tortured by a fucking murderer this whole time, I don't know. There's just so many things.
Honestly,
though,
that's what I'm leaning towards, because then that would make sense why she was admitted to the psychiatric hospital. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be fucking hysterical too if this was shit was happening to me.
But there's also just a lot of like things that didn't add up when she was like being like. It was always anytime something happened, there was always like people coming over, or the PI was right down the street.
It always seemed like she was like made it so they would see it right when they got there.
Right. And like and then how could they get away? And then it stopped when the police were, I don't know, some of that can be explained away. But this might be one that when we're finally doing this full time one day and like we can do multiple episodes every week,
we're gonna dive deep.
We might need to come back and do a deep dive on this.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've heard this case so many times, like on other podcasts, that I told myself, I'm like, one episode only. We're only doing one episode on this. We have, because it has been talked about so much. And you guys know me, if I go on a deep dive, we're going to be like,
5 episodes deep.
Here's the 45 different incidents that happened, and we're going to talk about each one for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, had to refrain, but I would like to come back to this case one day and do that deep dive. It won't be for a long time though, so please don't start asking me right away. It won't be.
Don't stress her out.
Yeah, I'm at a breaking point. I'm very fragile right now. But anyway, with that, public debate continues to this day. Cindy's family insisted that she had been murdered or harassed into suicide by someone who had escaped justice. They found it hard to believe that she had inflicted such harm on herself over so many years. Now, skeptics pointed to the lack of external evidence and the tools that she owned as signs that she may have orchestrated everything herself. As one reporter noted, it's difficult to believe an attacker would inject her with morphine, hide all the evidence, tie her up, and vanish in public, while a trained nurse like Cindy may have had the skills to do this. Yet neither theory fully satisfies. Both leave very open-ended questions. If Cindy staged it all, why keep it going for 7 years at the cost of her health and her relationships? If someone else was responsible, how did they avoid detection for so long? Her case to this day remains one of Canada's most and I'd say one of the world's most baffling unsolved mysteries. And to this day, those who knew Cindy wrestle with what really happened. True crime communities like us right now, right here and right now, continue to debate what really happened to Cindy James.
This one hurts my brain. Like, not even a little bit. Like, I'm getting a headache trying to fucking think about this.
Now I want to deep dive because I really was on that. I feel like I don't know why I didn't process the lividity thing earlier. Like, I don't know. I just didn't focus on that in my mind, and now it's fucking me up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you have that? And then, like, the note on the wall, you know?
Now I just want to deep dive into all of the incidents leading up to this because to be honest, I was just... When I hear this case other places, the consensus seems to be from most people that she probably did this to herself. I'm going to deep dive just on the lividity part.
Okay.
And before we release this, if I find anything, I'll clip it in at the end, but Emily won't be here to listen or react to it. It'll just be me. Notes. So insert clip here if that's the case. And if not, we are ending it here. But that is the very, 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 very mysterious death of Cindy James. Confusing. And honestly, I think we've covered a few mysterious death cases that to me are not very mysterious. This one is very mysterious.
Yeah, this one's confusing as fuck.
Yeah, like we talk about Ellen Greenberg. Like, I know what I fucking think happened there. Yeah. Ellen Greenberg did not kill herself, in my opinion, from my armchair over here. But this one, I don't know. What do you guys think? Comment on our Instagram post about this and let us know what you think. I'd rather that than DMs so people can kind of like go back and forth with each other too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the debate.
And sometimes the DMs, I like open them and I read them and I don't have time to respond in the moment and then I forget about them and then I lose them. But the comments I can like kind of go back to.
That's me with text, but I don't lose them. I just forget.
Yeah, same. So yeah, let us know. Comment on our Instagram post. We usually put it up between by noon or 1 p.m. at the latest. Mm-hmm. So comment on our Instagram post. It also goes on Facebook. We check Instagram way more often. But let us know what you guys think happened here because I don't fucking know. But we did it. We made it through.
We did.
Finally. And third time's hopefully the charm. I mean, it's not out. It's not saved yet. It's not out yet. It's not edited yet.
Still in the draft.
Still a lot of things that could go wrong here. But if you guys are hearing it, huzzah to Emily and I mainly me. It was me that fucked it up both times. So huzzah to Emily for putting up with me.
We can blame that on technology though as well. So.
Yes. All right. Well, court is adjourned.
TTYL. We'll talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time. That's not TTYL. Talk to you later.
TTNT.
Tint.
Talk to you next time.
Tint. Ick.
Now you Nick.
Or if not, Nick.
Ick. Now you Nick. If you don't know, now you know.
No.
Yeah.
Now you know. That's what you.
If you know, you know.
We'll see you guys.
And on that note, bye.
You know what I just realized, Emily?
No.
Because what you talked about this word is. You know how we should end every episode is we'll see you next Tuesday. And guys, if you don't,
that's on Ick Yick.
And that's on Ick Yick. We'll see you next Tuesday. Or if not, we're not going to explain that one to you.
No.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Now, if you guys love the pod, make sure you're following us wherever you're listening so you don't miss out on any future episodes.
And while you're at it, we'd be forever in your debt if you had left us a 5-star rating.
For more content from us, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Both are at A Trial by Podcast.
You can also follow us on our Facebook and join our Facebook group.
You can shop our merch by clicking the link in the show notes or visiting our website, atrialbypodcast.com.
A Trial by Podcast is a fully independent podcast. If you'd like to help support us, you can do so by donating through the link in our show notes.
The site we use for this is called Buy Me a Coffee, but don't worry, your donations will never be used for coffee or frivolous things, only for expenses related to running and growing the podcast. So thank you guys for your support.
Thank y'all. Huzzah.
Huzzah.